Today on PimFim, let's talk about Disney. This is Chris. Let's go. I know I've been doing a really bad job about getting videos that are not made in this room. I want to be going out and getting videos made elsewhere, but it's been hard recently. I'll probably talk about why in my next video. But today we're talking about Disney and how uncomfortable Disney is making me these days. Before I talk about that, I just kind of want to set up the fact that I've always been made uncomfortable by displays of wealth, by riches in general. I remember when I was like 16 years old, my girlfriend's dad buying a brand new truck, a Ford F-150, and the first time I got inside, I just was so uncomfortable with what this truck was. And a Ford F-150 is not that fancy a vehicle, but it had these nice plush leather seats. It had as much seating as my car does now in a truck, and it's a very powerful truck. And I'm thinking, God, this guy, he works at Boeing, he works a desk job, he doesn't really need this. He does have a boat, but his previous truck was not nearly as powerful as this and just got the job done. So yeah, he needs to drive that boat around sometimes, but he didn't need this car. It's his money, he can do with it what he wants, but it made me uncomfortable. I didn't like it. I've talked before about how I got a Windows phone because I was made kind of uncomfortable by the idea that Apple and Google are the two people you can buy phones from, or at least, their operating systems. And so I thought, hey, maybe I can support this third party coming into the system to try to disrupt things. And that's supporting Microsoft as opposed to Google or Apple. It's not like Microsoft is the little guy in the system, but for some reason it felt better to me. And there were other reasons too. That wasn't the main driving force, but it was like a bonus thing in the back of my head saying, yeah, you're supporting the little guy too. And so that brings me to talking about Disney. Disney owns so much these days. They own Star Wars, they own Marvel, they own Disney movies, those kids movies that we all think about. They own the Pixar movies, and they're adding more stuff. They're getting more and more of the Marvel stuff that wasn't in the original package. They've got Spider-Man now. They just purchased the X-Men rights. It's interesting. And I think the most interesting part is that I'm very conflicted because I'm made super uncomfortable by the fact that all these movies are being made by one company. But they're also all really good. And that's the problem, is I don't think I want Disney to sell the rights to Star Wars. I want them to have Star Wars because they're making really good Star Wars movies. I don't think I want them to get rid of Marvel. I'm a little bit upset that they might be taking away some really cool stuff that was happening with X-Men and Deadpool. But at the same time, I'm excited to see what they might do with those series. Will they combine the X-Men into the Marvel Universe? Might they make it a separate thing? There's a lot they could do that would be really cool. I definitely don't want them to stop making those Disney movies that I cherished throughout my childhood, as problematic as many of them are. I don't want Pixar to stop having the Disney resources behind them, even if, getting a Frozen short before a Pixar movie was pretty awful. And so I'm stuck in this place where I'm so excited about what Disney's making, but I also am made very uncomfortable knowing that one company is making a ton of money off of all the stuff I like. I wish it was a number of smaller companies, but that's not the reality. And I just kind of have to deal with that and figure out where I want to put my money. It's a similar situation to Kanye West being this guy who's an asshole, and yet I love his music. As I'm talking about this, I'm reminded of Bezos and Amazon in Seattle. Bezos recently halted construction on 2 new Amazon buildings, basically holding these jobs and these buildings hostage because the Seattle, City Council is considering, not even has passed, but is considering a tax on just the largest Seattle companies. So companies like Microsoft or Boeing or Amazon, honestly, I don't even know how much Boeing and Microsoft are still around these days. No one talks about them nearly as much anymore. It's all Amazon. But having a tax on these largest companies to help give aid to the homeless, so housing and food. And that tax sounds great to me, but obviously Bezos is not super happy with it. And so he's holding these jobs hostage. And that seems awful, but it also seems kind of in line with what Bezos has been doing with Amazon, which is constantly going around to other cities and saying, hey, if you can give me a better deal than what I've got in Seattle, if you can make it worth my while to move all this infrastructure over here, I'll give you some jobs. So what do you have to offer me? It's very similar to the way sports teams build a sports center in a city by basically requiring the city to pay for it. I feel really conflicted about Amazon these days. They also just don't treat their warehouse employees very well at all. But I love Amazon. I buy the Amazon Prime every year without thinking. The price went up $20 recently, and I heard that and I thought, man, that sucks. Still a good deal though. I'm gonna keep buying it. And the thing that it sort of reminded me of, because I saw an ad recently for Walmart. Apparently they offer 2-day shipping for free. You don't need a membership. And there's this part of my head that said, yeah, but Walmart, they're a bad company. I don't buy from Walmart. And then I realized, is Amazon any better than Walmart? Because to be honest, I've never really done any research into why Walmart's so bad. I have this idea that they destroy small businesses. So does Amazon. They're the kings of that. What else is Walmart doing that makes them worse than Amazon? I don't know. Maybe they're just not as good a product these days. So that is a weird thing to have realized, that this company that I've always avoided because, oh, they're bad, Walmart's bad, I'm not sure Amazon's better. And I'm a very loyal Amazon customer. I depend on them for a lot of stuff. And again, I don't know that having that understanding is going to change my behavior. There's no ethical consumption in a capitalist system. Future me, have you maybe learned anything that helped you to come to grips with this stuff?